Beyond the basic definitions of deductive and inductive for arguments, we can also tell whether an argument is deductive or inductive because it might have a distinctive character or form that shows that it's a typically deductive argument or a typically inductive argument. In other words, if you see these forms, you should treat them as typically deductive, and I'll show you the typically inductive argument forms as well. So the first is an argument based on mathematics, except statistics, which we'll see. So this is an argument in which the conclusion depends on some purely arithmetic or geometric computation or measurement. So for example, somebody might say, I have 2 apples and 3 oranges, and I've put them into a paper bag, and I conclude that I now have 5 pieces of fruit. That argument from mathematics is simply based on the fact that you're adding 3 plus 2. That's it. A surveyor might measure a square piece of land and say it's 100 feet on each side. So I'm going to conclude it contains 10,000 square feet. That's all. It's just a computation or a measurement. This works for most arguments in mathematics except for statistics, because statistics are based on probabilities. You might, in the social sciences, like in psychology, do a particular survey, and you may take the data that you gain from that survey or from that study, and you may run it through an excellent program and figure out all sorts of answers to hypotheses, etc. And you may even have a 95% or a 98% confidence level. However, statistics should always be treated as, or arguments based on statistics should always be treated as inductive because they involve probability. Statistics, the use of statistics, especially in social data analysis, is really only for determining the level of the probability of something, not for determining it the way that you would with addition or with measurement. Okay, so the next is an argument from definition. This is an argument in which the conclusion is claimed to depend merely on the definition of some word or phrase that's used in the premise or the conclusion, just based on its definition. So if I said Claudia is mendacious, it follows that she tells lies, then my conclusion that Claudia is mendacious, or saying that she's mendacious, mendacity just means someone who doesn't tell the truth or someone who lies. So it's just based on that definition. If I said that a certain paragraph is prolix, it follows that it is excessively wordy. Well, guess what? That's what the word prolix means. It means excessively wordy. The next typically deductive argument are categorical syllogisms. So you might be wondering, what is a syllogism? So let's define it here on the side. A syllogism is any argument with exactly 2 premises and 1 conclusion. That's the definition of a syllogism. A categorical syllogism is a syllogism in which each statement begins with all, no, or some. In other words, that relates to categories. So if I said, all ancient forests are sources of wonder, some ancient forests are targets of the timber industry, therefore some sources of wonder are targets of the timber industry, because it's a syllogism, an argument with exactly 2 premises and 1 conclusion, and because each statement starts with all, no, or some, it's a categorical syllogism, and these are nearly always deductive. We will deal with an entire section later on in the semester of categorical syllogisms and how to deal with them, how to use them, how to evaluate them. We also want to treat hypothetical syllogisms as typically deductive. Hypothetical syllogisms involve an if-then or conditional statement. So for example, if I said, if Fox News is a propaganda machine, then it misleads its viewers. Fox News is a propaganda machine, therefore Fox News misleads its viewers. We've got an argument with exactly two premises and one conclusion, and it deals with an if-then statement as part of it. So that's going to be treated as a typically deductive argument. And lastly, we want to treat disjunctive syllogisms as typically deductive as well. And the disjunctive syllogism involves not an all, no, or some or categories, not a conditional statement like an if-then statement, but instead it's an either or statement. So with a disjunctive syllogism, you might have an argument like this. Either global warming will be arrested or hurricanes will become more intense. Global warming will not be arrested in the sense of being stopped. Therefore, hurricanes will become more intense. So it's an argument that has exactly two premises and one conclusion, and it contains an either or. So it is also best treated as a typically deductive argument.